Is the screen visible, guys?
Yes, screen is visible.
Okay, sure. One moment, let me open up this notepad file. Yeah, Basan, your doubt was regarding
that you are telling about that IP address, right? IP config.
Okay. To check your private IP, you will give command ipconfig. Yeah.
No, IP config. So there, I think 4 or 5 IP address we are getting. IPv4 address.
No, these are not IP addresses. Only the IP address is this line. Other than that, on the top IPv6 address.
No. One thing I will tell you.
Something called Subnet Mask. I'll discuss this. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, Basan.
I cannot share my screen, right?
Sorry.
Can I share my screen or not?
No, you might not be able to share your screen, Basan. You can send me a snap, like a picture on WhatsApp. You have my number, right?
Okay. Can you go a little up?
Okay.
Your screen. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Down it is IPv4 address 192.168.239.1 above. Yeah, that is one.
Okay.
Then second one is also IPv4. Third one is
different interfaces, Basan. Right now I'm connected to my Wi-Fi interface. If you see, okay, I'm connected through my Wi-Fi over here. In your device, you have multiple interfaces. If you want to see the different interfaces, you can go to this page, ncpa.cpl. This shows all the interfaces: Bluetooth interface, Ethernet interface, VPN interface, VMware interface, and my Wi-Fi. So I'm connected through my Wi-Fi. So the most relevant one will be this one. And I've told you, there's other interfaces also: Ethernet interface, the VMnet 8. This is the one, VMnet 8. Then you have VMnet 1. This is the one, VMnet 1. Then on top you have these unknown TAP 6 adapter. Where's that?
So suppose the internet is not there. So which IP address we will get it?
Sorry, which is not there?
Internet. I am not connecting to any Wi-Fi, LAN, nothing. I am connected. Means like normal only.
In that scenario, you will not get any IP at all for your device. You will be getting a blank IP. Sometimes you get something called APIPA, automatic private IP assignment. Okay, sometimes you'll be getting that special IP, APIPA. This is assigned to your machine when you're not connected to any automatic or manual methods for IP address.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's do one thing. Let's wait for a couple more minutes, Basan, and see if anyone else joins. And we'll start the session in 5.
Okay, fine.
Sure. Okay, Basan, let me start the session. Maybe no one else is going to join the class for today. We'll have to take up a couple more demos and see if anyone joins the batch later on. We have taken a few demos only. But anyways, let's continue with the class. In the last session, I guess this is where I last ended. What are these different classes and how they are used for different networks, right?
Yeah, that's 5 classes. Yes.
So we have to continue with Subnet Mask. So we'll continue with Subnet Mask and we'll see what automatic DHCP is, how you assign an IP manually. And we'll end the class today over there. Because again, it's much better if I have more students to continue the batch. With a few number of students, it's again, I'll have to repeat the same class again. So that is why we'll take up a smaller session again today as well. And we'll see how that goes. Okay. So any questions or doubts with this part, Basant, on your end? Like what are the different classes or any issue with IPv4 or any doubts before I start the session?
No, yesterday you told like our current system, it is class C type, right?
Yeah, class C. Our private IP that we are getting is from class C network range, 192.168 something, because it's a small network. My home network is a really small network, which consists of I won't consist more than 255 devices. Therefore, I'm using the class C network. Okay. Now proceeding further, we have something else called Subnet Mask. If you notice over here, just below the IP address, we have this value called Subnet Mask. Now, the Subnet Mask is used for the computers to understand or identify which class an IP belongs to. Okay. So if there's class A, there's one network portion and 3 host portions, right? So in network portion, I'm going to put all the values to 1. So I put all ones over here. And then all the host portions, I've put all the values to 0. Because even if the host portion changes, that will still belong to the same network. So when I calculate this from the binary to decimal format, this will change from all ones to 255 and from all zeros to just 0. So for class A, the default subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. For class B, there are 2 network portions and 2 host portions. Therefore, you'll have all ones in the first 2 octets and all zeros in the last 2 octets. Therefore, the subnet mask is 255.255.0.0. Similarly, for class C, there's network, and host. So all ones in all the first 3 octets and all zeros in the last octet. Now, when you convert that would be 255.255.255.0. Right. Now, similarly, if you notice, I got the IP something like 192.168 something, 1.7 or whatever. Now, this belongs to class C. And for class C, the subnet mask should be 255.255.255.0, as you can see over here. This is clear, Vasant? How we got this one? Yeah, clear. Now, coming to the private IP part, as I've told you, there are 2 methods. 1, you can manually assign the private IP, or 2, you can get it automatically from something known as a DHCP server. So let me show you first how we can manually assign the private IP. So if I want to assign that, I can go to my ncpa.cpl page in the run tab. This opens the network interfaces tab. And since I'm connected to my Wi-Fi right now I'm getting the IP as 192.168.1.7, right? If I wanted to change that IP, all I have to do is right click on that, go to properties and go to IPv4 settings, properties again. And you can notice there are 2 options over here. One is obtain an IP address automatically, which means the machine is getting an IP address dynamically from a DHCP server. Second is using an IP which I want to. Okay. So for that, I can assign my own IP, something like 192.168.1. Let's say 100. Okay. If I click on subnet mask, automatically get the IP. It gives me the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. If I give a different class, let's say if I give a class B IP, let's see what subnet mask I'll get. So let's say if I give an IP like 172.16 or let's say 20.30.40. This is a class B IP. I've shown you this how to categorize depending on the IP ranges in yesterday's class. And if I click over here, you can notice subnet mask is 255.255.0.0. If I give a class A IP now, something like 10.0.0.0 or something, 10.0.0.1. Now you can notice the subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. Okay. So depending on the class that you give the IP from, the subnet mask will vary accordingly, right? So let's say if I give the same IP back 192.168 from class C, 192.168.1. Let's say earlier I was getting 1.7. So this time I'll give 1. Let's say 100. Okay. And default gateway, as you can notice over here, it's already 192.168.1.1. This default gateway is nothing but my router IP. Router is also known as the default gateway. So by default, it will always get the first IP in the network. which is 1.1. 1.0 will never be used. Okay. So after that, so I'll give the same IP over here, 192.168.1.1. Okay. DNS server, we'll talk about this DNS server in the coming classes, not an issue about. But if I want to give a DNS, I can just go to the browser and search for Google DNS server. Google DNS server IP. And it'll give me two IPs. One is 8.8.8.8 and the other one is 8.8.4.4. Okay. So I use those IPs now. 8.8.8.8. Okay, or 4.4, anything, your choice. Okay, click on OK. Click on. So if I type IP config now, you can notice the IP changed. Right?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Similarly, now if I want to.
That one, sir, can you please tell once again? I'm not getting how you did 200.
Sorry, come again.
How this IP got 200? Can you tell once again?
As I've shown, I just changed it manually over here. Right click, properties.
Oh, there you have kept it. Yes, yes, yes.
Properties. Correct. And I give 1.100 over here. If I give 1.200, and if I click on OK. Oh, 1 second, it's still assigning. Can you see this person? I got 200.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. If I give automatic, if I give properties, IPv4 properties again, if you go to obtain IP address automatically, I'll get my original IP back. 1.7, as you can see. Okay. Now, what is meant by this automatic method? How are we getting this IP? Is what is the main question. So this is happening with the DHCP server. Okay. And right now in my local network, in my Wi-Fi network, if I go with the command ipconfig/all for extra options, you can notice it gives me the DHCP server IP also. Now, right now, my router itself, which is the default gateway, is acting as a DHCP server. Okay. So my router, which I'm using in my local network, is acting as a router, is acting as a default DHCP server also. Okay. Now, what is a DHCP server is the main question. Okay. Now, this DHCP server stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Okay. Usually, back then in the olden times, when you had small networks, a network admin could easily assign IPs to each and every device. Let's have 10 or 20 devices. And if I wanted to assign an IP, I can just go to each system and I can go to the properties like that. Windows R, ncpa.cpl, I can go to properties and I can assign an IP. But what if I'm working for an MNC company and I had to assign IPs for 1,000 or 2,000 devices in the same network? Now that would be a hectic task. That's why they came up with a protocol called DHCP Protocol. Okay, this DHCP protocol stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. The main usage or the main advantage of this is it can dynamically or automatically configure an IP address to each and every host connected in the network. So it automatically assigns an IP address to each and every host connected in the network. How does it do that? It does it with the help of something called as DORA process. Now let's understand what this DORA process is. So let's say I have my new device over here. Okay. And let's say I have my router, which is also has a DHCP server. Okay. A DHCP server always has something known as a pool of free IP addresses. Pool of free IP addresses. Okay. What is this pool? It will have a range of IPs. Let's say from 192.168.1.2 to 192.168.1.254. That's it. Okay, because 1.1 is used by DHCP server.
Yes.
Right. So it cannot use the same IP for another device. Now let's say I connected a new device in the same network, and for that new device, it is configured in the NCPA adapter settings that it should get an IP address automatically from the DHCP server. So if I click on OK, if I go to properties, so I've selected over here as obtain IP address automatically. Now, when this option is selected, what happens in the background is that your device starts sending something known as a discover packet to all the devices in the network. So it sends a discover packet to this device, it sends a discover packet to any other devices which are connected in the network, and so on. Okay. So if there are any other devices in the network, it will start sending this discover packet to each and every device. Okay. This discover packet's job is nothing but check where is the exact DHCP server. Okay, so it goes to this device, and this device also. And when they are not the DHCP server, they will drop that packet. But when it reaches the correct DHCP server, it says, hi, I am the DHCP server. You're looking for me, and I can offer you an IP address. Okay, so in return, what it will do is it will offer. It will say, hi, I'm DHCP server, and I can offer you a free IP, something like 192.168.1.7. Okay, once that is offered, my machine again says, hi, thank you for responding back. Now this will send a message directly to DHCP server saying, I'm requesting you that please allot me that IP and remove it from your pool of free IP addresses. Request for the same IP, 192.168.1.7. Once it requests for that IP, finally, the DHCP server says, okay, thank you for that request. Now I will allot that IP to you and I will remove it from my pool of free IP. And that is known as a confirmation, something like acknowledgement. Acknowledgement. Okay, also known as confirmation, right? And this process is known as a DORA process. D for discover, O for offer, R for request, and A for acknowledgement. And all of this happens in fractions of seconds. So if you recollect, whenever you connect to any Wi-Fi device from your phone, when you give the correct password, it will say obtaining IP address. Have you observed that?
Yes.
Obtaining IP address is nothing but in the background, it is taking that, it is doing that DORA process, trying to get an IP from the Wi-Fi router. Okay. So internally in the background, once you give the correct password, it connects to the router. And the DHCP is trying to communicate with the DHCP protocol in the router to get a free IP from the router. Okay. So that is known as the DORA process, right? Is this clear? Basant and Saad, hello?
Yes, I'm clear.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello. Am I connected, please? Shubham, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So yeah, that's on DHCP server. Coming to the next protocol, DNS server. If you notice, whenever you're checking for IP, you have to give something known as a DNS server IP also. If I go to Windows R, ncpa.cpl, and if I go to properties, somewhere you see something called DNS server. We'll be discussing about this DNS server in much more detail as well. But just to give you a quick introduction of what a DNS server is, the DNS stands for domain name server. Okay, this main job of a DNS server is to resolve an IP address to a host name and vice versa. To give you a very clear and much better example of DNS, it's just like a contact book application for your websites. Now in your phone, you have an application called contacts, where each contact name has a number assigned. Okay, we humans are not that good at remembering long numbers. So therefore, we don't remember the contact numbers of all our different contacts in our phone. We just assign a name to it, and through that name, we dial it. Right. Similarly, whenever you're visiting any website, each website on the internet has a public IP. Okay, so when I visit google.com also, your browser does not know what this google.com is. It sends this request first to the ISP. In the ISP, it sends it to the DNS server. And DNS server has the record saying that Google server is located on so-and-so IP. Okay, and from there, the request directly goes to Google server. Exactly. If I show you an example, I can go to my command prompt and give the command ping space www.google.com. Okay. And now what happens is it is giving me an IP address, if you notice. Okay. This is the IP, the public IP of Google server. So if I copy that IP and if I paste it over here, and if I hit enter, you'll notice I'm still getting the same Google page. Okay. So this is the IP that your browser is trying to reach to whenever you're typing google.com. But we don't need to remember that IP because the DNS server does the job of resolving that host name to the exact IP and vice versa. So when you type the IP or the host name, the domain name, it should still reach the same server. Okay, the exact website which is hosting the Google domain. Okay, and that is done by the DNS server. If DNS was not there, your browser won't know what you're trying to connect to. Okay, so DNS is like your contact book application for your websites, where each website is given its own IP. Okay, and that information is stored in the DNS records. Okay, so that is what is known as DNS server, guys. Any questions up to this part? Hello. Okay, Saad, is that clear? What is a DNS server and a DHCP server?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Again, there's one more small topic left out called the special IPs and the IPv6, guys. Again, I would have to continue this in the next class because I have to join a few more students in our batch. Again, one more thing to inform, guys, there will be no classes for the rest of the week for Thursday and Friday because there's a festival in India, Sad. So if possible, what I'll do is I'll share the recordings with you guys from the previous sessions. You can go through them. And again, we'll be taking the same session again, just so that if you have time, you can go through them. If not, no issues. We'll still anyhow continue from Monday because there's a festival in India, Pongal, if I'm not wrong. So over this whole week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, there's a festival over here. So we'll have to continue the rest of the sessions from Monday again.
Okay, no issues.
Okay. So Basan, yeah, that's it. Nothing more for today's class. I'll see you again back on Monday.
Okay, sir, if possible, please share the recording session and this notepad document.
Yes, sure. But before that, one more thing. Can you please share me your emails, guys, in the chat so that I can share you these recordings or the notepad files?
Yeah, I am sharing
in the chat. I'll take a note of it, and after I end the session, I'll send you the notepad file via the email. Okay, Basan, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, sure, guys. I'll send you the notepad file.
Okay, fine.
Okay, guys, that's it. Nothing more for today's class. I'll share the recordings and the notepad file as well. Okay, and I'll see you on Monday again. Again, happy Pongal.
Yeah, same to you. Happy Pongal.
Thank you. Bye-bye.